Hey everyone, this is Faizan and
Rahim Dawood.
and we're from Enclave Digital Ecosystem. And so Rahim, I know we kind of decided on the topic, but actually I was thinking while I was before I hit record was to actually talk about a little bit something else, right? Like so with this coronavirus happening, and I'm not saying I'm a scientist. I know you're a better scientist. You can pretend to be better than I am, and I'm not trying to kind of go into the psychology of that. But my wife and I were having a conversation a couple of days ago. She's like, "Why are you so into this content and trying to find out more about it?" And for me, I was kind of relating it back to the work that I've been doing for the last few years, talking with different organizations and how during the time, like these experts, right? Like they're saying, "Wash your hands." But like the washing hands and kind of this that knowledge has been out there. The experts have been saying the same thing, right? To prevent flu from even being spreading, right? Wash your hands, and all these expertise has been there. Like you should be prepared in case of a virus like this spreading, right? But of course we don't do it, and then we panic, right? And I kind of saw the similarities between different organizations as well. Was during the time, like there's all these expertise. We've gone to organizations, hey, you should do these. Here's the processes that you need in place. But nobody thinks about business process. Nobody thinks about any of this until it needs to be done, and then you're panicking. So the organizations that we've talked to now, where they had maybe 15% of workforce that was working remotely, now all of a sudden there's 90 to 100% that need to work remotely.
Yes.
Right? The work culture is not put in place.
Yes.
Because it is different to work from home, right? Like the
Yes.
culture is different, how you manage people is different. So all those things are happening, right? And so for me, this is a great example. I'm looking at it. I'm like, this is kind of concept that I've been kind of dealing with. Like people panic, and all of a sudden, right? Like during cybersecurity incidents, like you should have had things in place, but now you don't.
Yeah.
Now you're panicking to restore and all that.
Yeah.
Do you see the similarities, or is it just me that makes this stuff up?
Yeah, no, you're not making anything up. I mean, I have nothing to add to what you've said because you kind of covered the whole spectrum there of what's really happening. And unfortunately, it's not because of a lack of understanding or a lack of knowledge. Like you say, the information's already there. The abilities are always there.
Yeah.
I guess it's the I don't know. I mean, and I'm not going to sit here and analyze it much like you because I think we're going down a rabbit hole if we're trying to do that. It's just, I think, where we have failed, I guess, as practitioners in this space, and I'll kind of zero in on maybe work from home as an example of, one of the things that has come to the forefront now, where because of this incident, the virus and all of this panic going on, people are suddenly going work from home.
Yeah.
But now there are no constructs in place from a process perspective. The technology is there.
Right.
Microsoft Teams is heavily adopted, Slack, whatever it is that you're using out there, allows you to collaborate freely. And if you've done it right, you've already been doing it, even though you're sitting next to each other, you're already kind of working in that format. So the technology is not the problem. The problem, to your point, is the processes that haven't been implemented. I think for us, a failure on our part as practitioners is we have not spent as much of our professional lives in truly investing in this idea of understanding people and understanding business.
Yeah.
Right? And how it relates to it. We've been busy peddling technology. We've been excited by the opportunity to work from home, and we've been selling all the tools and technologies, but none of us have necessarily taken a step back and said, well, where's the merit in all of this?
Right.
And what's in it for the individual, and what's in it for the culture, and what's in it for the business that seeks to benefit from this in whatever shape or form? And if we kind of took that step back and started having those conversations first between ourselves and then, within the communities where we operate in, I think we stand a better chance of answering some of these whys as to why does it take so long to adopt something like this? Why does it result? Why do you need a panic situation to adopt technology that you've already invested in so many years ago? Right. Coming back to that specific example. And I think over and over and over again in every example, we can go back to that fundamental flaw that we've had in the way in which we operate, in that we refuse to kind of step back and say, why is it that we want to do this? What's in it for us?
Yeah.
And then lead with that, rather than here's a new shiny object, by the way. Hey, look, you can now set up a video conference and video somebody halfway across the world. Well, it means absolutely nothing if it's not addressing a specific need I have, or touching a specific chord that resonates with what it is that's at the center of what it is that I seek from life and work and what have you. It's useless.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that, especially around video conferencing, right? Like I was recently meeting with a client, and we were chatting, and they wanted to bring in their workforce from another region, right? And so of course we brought them on video using Microsoft Teams, and it was an interesting conversation because it's like it had nothing to do with the technology itself, but I kind of pointed out that some of these people hadn't seen each other ever.
Right.
They've been talking.
Yes.
Right. They had been talking, but they hadn't seen each other, and so it was an interesting conversation. And I've had it a couple of times now with the organizations that, like, do you see the impact that it has when you're meeting face to face? One, I know, like you and I, when we have face to face conversations, sometimes we get on video, so I'm not distracted. Right. Like I'm not doing something else, and I'm not pulling because. If you see me walking away, you can see my eyes move away from the camera or from the screen. You can kind of notice that, maybe it's not as simple as that. But I think for me, like, again, I'm not judging the panic or those moments when it happens. I just wonder, like, what the lessons learned are, right? Or situations like this. I'm not judging when a cyber attack happens and how you panic. And yes, you have to do the business continuity. You have to sometimes make it up on the spot, because these are new attacks, these are new things.
Absolutely.
So I'm not judging the panic or what people are doing in those panic attacks, but it's like, what's the lesson learned for the next time? Because unfortunately what I've seen, again, the same thing with this virus, is that the protocols had been put in place before. It's just that we forget those protocols. We don't practice those protocols.
Yes. And
those are the things that happen. And it's the same, I feel like same thing happens in our field of kind of business and technology consulting, right? Like we've learned the lessons, and it's how do we articulate the lessons learned so it doesn't happen again next time?
Yes.
Right? I don't know if you have any kind of closing thoughts on that.
I do. I mean, my mind is going in like 10 different directions, so I'll keep it simple for the sake of brevity. That, in all of this, right, it's important, the lessons learned and kind of building on it and what have you and what not. That continuum of a narrative, right? What is it specifically that you're invested in? And what I mean by that is these lessons learned, all of us are looking for sort of that big, grand sort of, slap on the wrist or kick in the butt or whatever you want to kind of get us, moving in a specific direction.
Right.
But when you think about, just coming back to that example of video conferencing, right? And you said, okay, we do video to avoid distractions. Well, more than that, I think, what I'm looking for example, when I'm on video or when I'm face to face with somebody, is body language, because that's extremely important. You and I have been on calls with our consulting teams, with our bench, where we're having a casual conversation, if you remember, an icebreaker like conversation about, what was your first job? And people were sharing what their first job was. And from body language, you could tell who was comfortable. In such a casual conversation between friends where we're having a light moment, suddenly you can see where that person, stands relative to their confidence, to the way in which they project themselves, to what it is that they're willing to share and not willing to share. And that gives you a lot of insight into how that person functions, right? You may be able to work a certain way with X, who gives you that kind of a vibe, but you may not be able to do the exact same thing with Y. Right? And the only way you're able to do it is in these subtle things that you're looking for when you adopt something that you're trying to kind of get everybody to use so that you can be better with each other, right? But we're not looking for that necessarily. When we say, let's learn some lessons from this, we immediately turn to the scientific side of things. And what did we measure? How much bandwidth did we save? What was our last bill that we received from whoever the competitor was before we installed this new technology? All of those kind of things are great, and that's awesome. And the MBA types are fantastic at this. They'll look at Excel spreadsheets and they'll get what they want out of it. But from a practitioner perspective, when you are invested in a particular technology, there are these little nuances you're looking for. If I came to you as a business leader and I said, you know, in face-to-face interactions, it's extremely important for me to be able to get a sense of body language. Right? It's one of the things on my list of 3 things that I'm looking for in an interaction. Suddenly your technology conversation back to me centers on that, teaches me how to use that technology to get those 3 things that I want. The fact that I can video is secondary to that. The fact that I'm saving $10,000 a year in long distance phone call costs or whatever the case may be, tertiary to that. Right? But you're giving me that, look, this is what this technology can do for you.
I think the challenge is, and I will close on this, but I think the biggest challenge is measuring the human impact, right?
Yes.
Because I know you and I have had conversations. The reason we started this organization was to not to measure, of course, human impact, but to kind of bring humanity back in, right? Bring humanity back into this technology, and have technology not be the center of all our decisions, but actually supporting, right? Like human beings run organizations, so have technology support those things. But those are hard things to measure, right?
Exactly.
And then from a project perspective, we're tech geekies, right? I think before this call, we were all on a computer geeking out on something. So I mean, we do that, but it's that conversations that need to happen that don't happen sometimes, or that get missed. Even not just from a consulting perspective, but also from an organizational perspective, who may have hired us. They don't even want to have this conversation. Possibly, right?
Yes. And that goes into another rabbit hole for which we'll probably need like another 12 hours of video. Is trust and confidence. Right? So I think what we've learned, at least, is the reason why these conversations do not happen for the most part is because of this lack of confidence and trust. That you're not necessarily truly invested in me. You're pretending to be invested in me because it leads to a transaction for you. And so I'll give you the bare minimum you need to do your transaction, because if I let you in a little too far, you know, you might automate my job, right? Make me obsolete. And so those are the kind of things that I think at the root of it all. And of course, I'm oversimplifying it. For the sake of this conversation, I'm sure, you know, we can get into like 10 different topics on this. But that's where it starts. And in every conversation, in every technology conversation or business conversation, it starts with that sort of, where is it that you come from that allows you to establish that confidence, first of all, and then helps you build that trust as you continue to grow. And as you continue to grow on that basis of confidence and trust, what value do you really bring, right? And those are the tough conversations to have.
So I mean, we'll leave it at that. But I mean, I think so part of what we're trying to do is, of course, have this content out there from an education perspective. Our own failures, we'll be sharing a lot of those failures with our audience, I'm sure. And so until next time, I think we'll let's pick up on this kind of the concept of trust. So I hope you enjoyed this this video, and comment wherever this video is going to be posted, and then share your thoughts with us, because I think we want to learn from those that have experienced this.
Absolutely.
So until next time, thank you.